Thanksgiving Day. Well, sir, what a lot of memories it brings to mind. The harvest finished, the crops in, and everybody gets together to enjoy a real family day. Let's see. I wonder if people outside Vermont have any idea what's back of all the good things they get from the Green Mountain State. I wonder if they know how much science and care goes into the raising of crops and poultry and milk, or how much time and research is spent to make sure that milk, apples, turkeys, potatoes, and a lot of other products are just as good as they can be. Wonderful place, Vermont. Green Mountain State. Yes, sir. We've got a lot of hills in Vermont, but we've got a lot of farmlands, too. And by gracious, we know how to make the most of them. Those fertile valleys in between the mountain ranges, they are just the place to raise the crops that have made this state famous throughout the nation. And we've got a rolling plateau region up there near the Canadian border, where a lot of good farms lie. And then, too, there's the rich, level fields of the broad Champlain Valley, which some folks are surprised to see when they travel up this way. Yes, sir, we've got a lot of fine farmlands. And dinner smells good. I hope it's almost ready. You know, there's a lot of science and work goes into agriculture on this land of ours. You'd never think that we'd been making a good living here for over 100 years. Young George, for example, graduate of the State Agricultural School, and he's already a good dairyman in partnership with his father. And they've followed a successful scientific breeding and feeding program for years now. Cost a lot of money, too, but my gracious, it sure paid in the long run. I guess science was the only answer here in New England. We don't raise much grain, you know. We have to buy it from distant states where it's produced to best advantage. Vermont has what it takes for dairies. We've got plenty of grass, grass for pasture and grass for hay. It just doesn't grow by itself either. These pastures are better because of green pasture contests and new seeding. You know, when I was a boy, we just let pastures seed themselves. Yes, sir. Haying is a big job in itself, and everybody lends a hand to get it in just at the right time. Hay isn't the only food for a herd of cattle, not when they're to be kept in tip-top condition during the winter months. Most of us that keep dairy cattle, we raise corn to take the place of pasturing. And when the snow is on the ground, I tell you, a silo full of good corn is a mighty comforting sight. Well, there's been a lot of progress made in recent years on feeding of cattle from the silo. Lots of farms have been putting in freshly cut grass, and it seems that lots of food value is saved that's lost in haymaking. Well, leave it to Vermonters to make the most of everything they have. You know, some important things we discover just for trying them. And then again, the agricultural school, that keeps us up to date with the latest scientific methods. There's no getting away from the importance of Vermont's dairy industry, and those herds They're representative of the pure dairy breeds. All a beautiful sight. They're real prize cattle, and they've won more than one blue ribbon for milk production and quality. We dairy farmers, we raise as much of our feed as we can, and it's a lot of work too. But the big job is looking after the cows and milking. Twice a day for 365 days a year is a lot of hard work, especially when there's a big herd. Our cows, they have to make us a profit, and that means good, clean barns, plenty of good food, and lots of faithful care. Come to think of it, I don't believe the producers of any food product could be any cleaner or fussier than us dairymen. We keep our hands spotless and our up-to-date equipment sterilized. And then, you see, we're sure the milk is pure and clean. We've come a long way in the handling of milk, too. Why, I remember when we used to cool it in spring water. But, of course, that was years ago. Electric refrigerators, they cool it quick nowadays, and we keep it cool right up to somebody's doorstep. Vermont dairymen, they're always glad to have inspectors come to their farms because they're proud of their records, and they're always trying to improve the herds. And speaking of records, the richness of Vermont milk, it has increased steadily over the years. Yes, sir, the quality of our herds has really paid off. Well, that's where the State Department of Agriculture and the Extension Service have been helpful. Well, I suppose I could spend all day thinking about Vermont's dairy business, but I tell you, we've got good reason to be proud of it. I don't believe there's any industry where more science and care are used to produce a really fine product. And you know, Vermont milk really gets around. 3/4 of it supplies over 2/3 of Boston's milk, and the rest goes to New York, southern New England, and, of course, to us here at home. Yes, sir, I guess Vermont milk could really be called famous. You know, whenever I think of the dairy industry, it puts me in mind of cheese. And some of our cheese makers, they've supplied the best products to all kinds of famous people, even to the White House in Washington, D.C. Of course, old-fashioned cheese making, it really is an art. And there isn't any shortcut to it either. It takes time and the right equipment and lots of experience. Any Vermont cheese is bound to be good, though. It's one of the most tasty products of the dairy industry. We've got some large-scale cheese making here, too. Good cheddar cheese that finds its way across the nation in one form or another. More folks, you know, they ought to see how much care is taken and how much good milk is used in cheese. They'd realize then what a really good, wholesome food it is. Thinking of food makes me wonder about that dinner. Can't be much longer now. Oh, well, it's worth waiting for, I guess. I understand the poultry industry has increased again this year, and you know that's quite a business too. The fact is that poultry is second only to dairying in this state, and laying records are always top-notch. Well, science has done a good job here too. Science and selective breeding, they've made our Vermont flocks famous. And the youngsters, they deserve lots of credit too. Their 4-H club work, it has really shown results. And there are lots of small flocks around the state for which the young folks take full responsibility. It's good business to get an early start when it comes to poultry. There are details and records to be kept, and experience, it'll really be valuable later on. Yeah, there's a good deal of interest in raising chicks, and who knows, the time may come when some of the youngsters will be in big business, just as their fathers are. And speaking of poultry, what would Thanksgiving be without a turkey? A Vermont turkey, that is. Yes, sir. Vermont is famous for a lot of things, but I guess our special crop is as well known as any food product. Good old Vermont maple. You know, there's something picturesque about the maple industry. Something that makes folks glad to see pictures of it on Christmas cards and things. It's not easy work, though. Every bit of the job requires a good deal of skill and solid, rugged workmen. Good thing that's the kind of people Vermonters are. Kind of hard to realize that, on the average, it takes about 35 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. Of course, there's all kinds of maple syrup, but our agriculture department insists that it weigh 11 pounds per gallon. The state has established grades for quality, and maple syrup must carry the grade and the producer's name. Of course, most everybody's had maple candies at some time or other, or maple cream, or just plain maple sugar. And the tobacco industry, that's used a lot of maple products too. Great blocks weighing 60 pounds each for flavoring good tobacco. Well, it won't be too long now before we're having a sugaring off party again. Gracious, I don't believe I could count all of those I've been to, or even remember all the fun we've had. I wonder why it is that I always begin to think of spring again at this time of the year. You know, if I didn't live in Vermont, I'd come here just to see the apple blossom and to watch the bees spreading pollen from blossom to blossom. Bees, of course, they're absolutely necessary to produce fruit. Yeah, nowadays all farming is done on a real scientific basis. And you know, the radio has been a big help. The agricultural department and experimental stations, they broadcast all kinds of news for the farmer, all the way from weather reports to the best time for spraying. And they really know how to control insect pests and disease now. The right spray at the right time, it really does wonders. There's even a new spray that keeps the apples on the trees when they're ripe, reduces loss from windfalls. Gracious, I don't believe there's a prettier sight than a whole orchard at picking time. Everybody, you know, turns out then to get the job done. They do a clean job, too, and handle the fruit with a lot of care to prevent bruises. Well, there's no better apples than those we grow here. It doesn't matter whether they're Macintosh, Northern Spies, or any other kind. They're the best fruit you can find anywhere. And potatoes, too. Now, there's a crop that most folks use every day. And believe me, it's important to Thanksgiving, too. And there's a lot more to growing fine potatoes than meets the eye. Just take fertilizers, for example. Who's only certified seed potatoes for planting, so we get off to a good start. Yeah, there's a lot of work and care to potato farming, but it's worth it. It's worth it. There's the long battle against insect pests, weeds, that would ruin any farming project if given a chance. You know, when the potato fields are in blossom, They are so beautiful that people come from all over just to see the sight. Today's harvest of potatoes is an amazing sight. Modern methods have controlled insect pests so completely that the tops must be burned off or destroyed by mechanical means. The actual harvest, it seemed almost an automatic operation. Quite a difference from the old hand method. Vermont potatoes, they go a long way to fill dinner plates. And progressive growers, they grade and pack them to the very highest standards. No wonder they find a good market. Yes, sir, Vermont grows a great many crops. And some of them you'd never think of. Take sweet corn, for example. Oh, of course, we don't grow a great lot of it like some states, but we sure grow it as sweet as any. Now, some of it goes to local markets, but most of it goes right to fine, modern canneries, where flavor and freshness are kept indefinitely by the latest canning methods. And then the strawberries, one of the most delicious fruits that there is. We've learned how to raise them, pick them, handle them, and ship them, so that in a good many markets, Vermont strawberries, they bring top prices. Yes, sir, Vermont can be proud of its agriculture. And a lot of folks in other states, they can give thanks to Vermont for some of the best things that go on their table. Vermont can be proud of its agricultural college and school, too, where youngsters learn the fundamentals of successful farming. Their courses give the graduate a head start toward successful farm management. Vermont can be proud of its farm people, too, for they're always willing to learn new methods, new ideas. Lots of them go to lectures throughout the year to hear talks by agricultural experts and to see demonstrations of new equipment. But with all this work, we have a lot of fun, too. I'll bet everybody in the state, yes, and lots of people outside the state, too, they get to at least one of the fairs. Did I have a good time this year? Well, the fair just about closes the farm year, but there's always next year. And all during the year, we don't forget to give thanks for our blessings and for all the good things that we get from God's green earth. He's been pretty good to Vermont, and I guess we'll always do our best to make the most of it.